Yo, what's up, everybody? Good to catch y'all soon. Thanks for coming through. Saying what's up to the chat. We got a few people that have been in here for a minute. Eighth Myth, Jeffrey Bianca, Custom Blink. Oh, Voltagectrlr's even in the chat, and he's right here.
Everywhere at once.
Yeah, we got Gleb, the Machine One, Damon, and I believe we also got Strange in the chat, holding it down. But today we're going to be talking about, of course, you guessed it, the Octatrack, the Eternal One, as well as the Digitac, and more so about Voltagectrlr and his setup and how he does his transitions and makes beats and all that different stuff. So to kick it off, we're going to start off with like a little beat set that Voltagectrlr just kind of, I dropped this on him last minute. So what you hear is insane because he could just pull this out at any minute. But yeah, yo, thanks for being with us.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. Good to be back.
Always.
Home away from home.
Exactly. You might recognize him from the Analog Heat Plus Effects.
Yes.
At a glance video. But yeah, all right, let's get into it.
Gandalf, the wizard.
This is Los Angeles.
Voltage control.
This is Los Angeles.
You are now about to witness this.
Voltage control.
How y'all feel out there?
This is Los Angeles. This is Los Angeles.
Clack, clack, locker. Feel them in your heart, chakra.
Voltage controller.
This is Los Angeles.
Clack, clack, blocker. Feel them in your heart, chakra.
Man. Oh, if y'all missed that, I don't know what to tell you. That was absolutely insane. What a vibe. Everybody in the chat was like, yeah, that's exactly it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Mario, you mind pointing that at us? Awesome.
Nice.
Oh my God. We're still good. Mario getting a fan in here because there's just way too much heat from those beats. Anyway, Mark, what's up, everybody? True Cuckoo's in the building. The machine's on.
What up?
Everybody, yeah, thanks so much for coming through and thanks for saying what's up and coming by and kicking it with us. Forgive the fan noise. It's just a little toasty in here with the lights and all that and the production. We got the weird gating effect. If that's too distracting, let us know. RT, loving the music. Yeah, everybody, that was nuts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the eyes and ears. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it.
So from what I could gather, I'm guessing that Octatrack's main clock,
Yeah,
sending over to the Digitact,
which is all one shots.
one shots here. These are basically all your drums, right?
Yeah,
And that's pretty much it. And then this is all your chopped up samples
Yep.
on the Octatrack.
yep. So one shot. And then we got samples over here. And then we have the audio tags that y'all know me for.
Voltage controller.
And you just keep that in track 1.
Yeah.
How is that set up? How are you playing those?
So track 1, all the audio tags it was one long loop that I just chopped up.
Okay.
So each
The wizard. This is Los Angeles. Voltage control.
different sample on
Voltage
each one,
controller.
and then those are mapped to the Crossfader. So if I want to freeze one of these, I can.
Voltage controller.
And they're all one sample in that, like, are you playing slices or are you
Yeah,
playing
it's all
slots?
sliced sample.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just had all my audio tags as like one WAV file, and I just threw them in here and just chop them up as slices.
That makes sense, because I guess that benefit is that they'll end up being like, I mean, I guess they're all monophonic, even if you were to do slots, but they'll for sure cut each other off.
Yeah.
And it's just one file rather than taking up all the slots
Exactly.
in a slot machine.
Yep, exactly.
God.
So pretty much the same way I have the samples chopped up, one WAV file, little fragments.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the same approach, same mapping, so you can freeze stuff. And one thing that I like to do with the Crossfader is I leave this one off.
Yeah.
So if I want to use it, I'll just trigger it.
That is hilarious.
And then we're back to normal.
And I can hear there's a little bit of like that tape, wum, 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 wum.
Yes.
Is there a bit of movement to the time?
Yeah, in the, let's see, where are we at? In the main, let's see, that's the delay settings. And then we have feedback, volume, width, and bass. And I think I might have modulated some of that with the LFO if I remember right.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Dude, what a setup. And once you've set it up, you basically just...
Yeah, so like
keep
for
building,
all my,
right?
my boom bap stuff, like this would be my setup for a live setup, which is basically, for me, I have a turntablist background. Shout out to Music Fiends, 1200 Hobos, my turntablist crews I was down with.
Hell yeah.
So I like doing a lot of crossfader work, and I almost see my live setup is like, it's like having 16 turntables sometimes. So you can chop samples up, and like each one of these pads would be a beat. So I would go through a beat set. I would have 16 beats, 16 chopped up samples on the Octatrack, and then I would have all the drums that go with the corresponding chopped up samples over here.
Got
so
it.
now I'll just go from 1 to 1 over here, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, so far and so forth. And that would be my beat set. If I have a longer beat set, I would do this again on another bank. So I might have 4 banks.
Yeah.
I could rock for like a good hour.
That's so nuts. And you've never really ran into like a constraint with like using long samples or anything like
No,
that?
like I think this one. Yeah, this one is like it's the full song, and the song was probably like, so you could like, you can go to all 4. That's literally like the whole song chopped up.
That
So
is
sometimes
hilarious.
like, if I'm just like doing a beat set and I just want to zone out and play the records that the songs came from, I just hit that and it'll just play.
Oh, right, because
play
you
through the whole
have,
song.
do you have like the amp and stuff set up to
Yeah,
just stay wide open?
yeah, it'll just stay open.
That is crazy.
So then you have, like access to like all your records that you use to sample. You can play the originals and just have like a traditional, I'm playing some record set. And then if you want to go into beats, you could do that as well.
It's so funny because I've wanted to kind of experiment a bit with this in the Octatrack, where I almost have like a backup bank of just like my songs chilling on
totally.
pads.
There it is. Like, you just put them on the pad, trigger it.
Yeah,
you
I'd be like, I
full
need to run to
song.
the restroom.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Are you, when you're doing, I guess, and by the way, I'm totally diverting from what we originally planned, because this is a once in a lifetime moment, right? To dive deep into Voltagectrlr's setup and see what he's doing. And I'm wondering, for your sample management, are you preparing any of this beforehand, or are you just recording straight in? and calling it a day.
I prepare beforehand.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll sample my records into Logic, and sometimes I just want to like do things just
Yeah,
a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And,
And
you
then
know-
you're like, all right, there's this weird 1 minute intro that I
Yeah,
don't need.
yeah,
right?
exactly. So I'll just edit and just have like, you know, I might take like 2 minutes from like a 6-minute song.
Cool.
Some stuff, if I plan on doing a longer set, like sometimes I'll let the songs play out a little bit more, and I'll have like a full song in there for my favorite stuff.
That's freaking cool. I love that you're able to just put like the whole track.
Yeah, that's something that
Down.
I you know, didn't really notice I could do with a lot of other samplers. And for me, the Octatrack is really dope because I come from an MPC 62 background.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's got that in there. It's got the same things I did with that, but then I also love the 404. It's got little bits of 404 stuff, and then the Crossfader gives me like some turntablist kind of stuff. So, and then it even with the feel of the keys, it's like it reminds me of like the SB 1200.
Yeah, I've kind of always felt that too.
Yeah,
that
so it's
really,
like everything in
clappity,
one, like everything I love about sampling and DJing in like one machine.
I know in the chat, Detro was like, I see a crossfader and I immediately think scratch.
Exactly.
You know? And you
exactly.
can kind of use it that way too, especially when you start mapping it to the rate of a sample. To kind
Yeah, I
of,
was gonna say the rate of a sample with like the LFO, you can move sound back and forth.
you know, and I feel like I've seen somebody put scratch samples.
Like odd and fresh samples.
Yeah,
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 I think
yeah.
I did see that
And
somewhere.
then you could just play the pitch.
Yeah.
Which would be so funny. Oh man, let's see if there's anything else. Fire as always. Turntablist gang.
Yep, all day.
Yeah, by any means, people, if you got questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
Yeah, throw
ask
them
a
in.
wizard.
Ask Ghetto Gandalf himself. We got just use some question marks so we can spot him out. Let's see, what was the name of his turntablist crew?
One crew was Music Fiends
Music
that I
Fiends.
started many years ago with my friend DJ Rags, and then the other crew I was in was 1200 Hobos with. That was founded by Mr. Dibbs. You might know him from the Run the Jewels DJ and DJ for LP many years, DJ for Atmosphere many years. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Dibbs.
Damn, that's tight. This is actually a really good question. I was wondering too. Mark asks, was the OT pattern change changing the Digitac patterns they couldn't see? Or are you sequencing the DT drums with the OT? Oh, I see what he's saying. A little bit of both, right? You are basically just pressing
Oh, as far as it is, I'm making.
the transitions. Like you're like, all right, time to change tracks. That means change patterns here. When you change the patterns here, it wasn't changing the patterns.
No,
here.
because I like to like mix and match sometimes. So like sometimes I don't want the drums from from sequence 1 and sequence 1 here. They would match, but sometimes I like to change things up. So
Yeah.
I don't have them like hardwired like that. So I just manually change them so I can experiment and not be like locked onto something.
And I guess when transitioning from one track to another, what is kind of your method?
One of the methods is using the crossfader to kind of like lock the beat. So I would do that, and then I would change to another track.
Boom, change pattern.
And I usually hit the stop button and then.
Oh, right. Got it.
And then
So
go to
even
something
with the
else.
stop, you hit it once, it'll let the delay
Yeah.
ring out.
So then if you want to go to something else.
Damn. Oh, right. And then it keeps this in sync too.
Yeah.
So boom, lock it, change pattern here, change pattern there.
And then you could do crazy stuff like say you lock that one, but then you move it over here.
That's tight.
And I also have a similar thing on the master. So with the send, it's when you want to freeze like the whole, like everything, including what's going in the through machine. You can do that over here. So I just have that mapped on the send. So you just put it to 0 and it will freeze whatever.
That's cool. Yeah, that's the whole delay lock.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Someone also asked, is there any reason why you're sticking with the Digitac 1 over the 2?
I just didn't get to 2 yet. Like it's on my hit list. Like the Digitone 2 is first, and then I'll get the 2 on
The Digitac 2.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did someone say Octa 2? Yeah, Octatrack Mark II, I guess. I have a Digitac and a Digitone Mark I. This is a question from Cray. Should I still get my first Octatrack Mark II now and not wait for a possible MK3? I'd say get one now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no rush.
It's a timeless classic, and It's very competitive with a lot of modern samplers. It does a lot of things that modern samplers don't do, and I just think it's really good for artists that want freedom to create and have more of a modular approach. So like I would have, this would be my live setup, but I would also set it up totally different if I was making beats just in
On
the
it.
Octatrack, you know, totally different. And then like when I'm controlling the modular, another approach. So I kind of have like 3 different templates, 3 different approaches.
I know. I feel like the Octatrack can take so many different forms when it comes to making music. Because even for me, it's like we're chatting off the stream about like when I'm using my Octatrack with this resampling of the Digitac back and forth, but then I flip it into a different bank, and now it's doing my performative mixer stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, if I'm doing more like modular stuff, I'm doing this stuff with the MIDI tracks and all that other stuff. It feels like a different machine, even though it's the same machine, because there's just so many different little layers to live in.
Like I wouldn't think about the MIDI ARP for this setup, but when I go to modular, it's like it's heavy on MIDI ARP.
It's like the whole reason you use it,
literally,
right?
literally.
It like becomes another product in a weird way. That's funny. Ciao, Ricky. Greetings from Italy. What's up, Fabrialbo? I hope I said that right.
Greetings.
Yeah, there's nothing like the Octa. Yeah, the joke around here is the Octa is eternal.
It is.
Because it just sticks around. It's just such a funky thing. Now, when it came to setting these effects up the way you have them set up, were you inspired by any types of effects that you liked?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of dub. Grew up listening to King Tubby, Lee Scratch Perry, Prince Jammy, like all those guys, and how they use the tape delay and reverb, and to get more of just that lo-fi kind of sound. I really like bringing that into hip hop.
That's freaking cool. Yeah, I know. It very much reminds me of that like dub delay where you just lock in this little buffer and let it like bum 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 bum.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing about like that's me being King Tubby.
Yeah. With that sample that you have chopped up with all of your like one shots that you use regularly, has it basically been the same file for? Yeah,
it's for since I think I started that probably a little bit before the pandemic.
Damn.
Actually, it was during the pandemic.
Really?
I started doing audio tags. Shout out to Jerobi from Tribe Called Quest, is the one that got me to do audio tags.
Really?
Yeah. I was doing a lot of remixes, and he reached out to me to send him some remixes, and I sent him a bunch, and he's like, you should put an audio tag in it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I just like, I put in the Octatrack, and I was like, let me like actually have some fun with it, and that just became a thing.
Yeah, because it is like a fun little thing to throw on top. Last week, when we did the stream with Strange, which is also up, you can check it down.
It's dope too, by the way.
It'll be down below. He does a lot of those like little audio tag one shots, kind of like, Voltagectrlr or Strange.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun way, especially when you start playing with them the way that you have, that it will kind of break up the monotony of like a repetitive beat, So I find that's pretty cool to have, that you just have set up on a dedicated track. And is that always going to be on a dedicated track for you?
Yeah, like audio tags is always track 1. And then chopped up samples is 2 through 6. 7 is always a through machine, and then 8 is always the master.
Oh, dang. Okay, cool.
So I know, like, whenever I do a beat set, it's always going to be the same.
What's what?
Sometimes if I do remixes, I'll throw a cappella.
On 5?
On 5. So vocals are always at the top, and then chop samples.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so funny that we all have our own weird...
Yeah, it's like however your brain is wired.
Yeah, right. Because for me, I would be like, oh yeah, I'll put the one shots, the audio tags on 7. My through tracks are 1. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would jump on your Octatrack and look like a child.
Exactly. Like, what the hell's going on? That's funny.
That's what's cool. I think about specifically the Octatrack. You could have like 5 different artists, and we could trade Octatracks and look like amateurs.
Yeah, 100%. Like if I just took this card and...
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's the other thing. I've taken this overseas and just played a set because somebody else let me borrow their Octatrack.
Good to know.
Yeah.
As I'm starting to get on the road, like if I can have a lighter footprint.
Yeah, that or just a backup.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
You never know.
Definitely.
But let's see. Octatrack is the GOAT.
I have two. Like I'm a fan.
I have two also.
Yeah.
I got the anniversary and then the gray one, my Frankenstein gray one. Let's see. Is the recording of finger drumming possible with yeah,
Oh,
easily.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just hit
totally.
record arm and go to town. Do you write using this setup or do you just perform songs with it?
I write with it also, and that setup would be totally different. So if I'm writing, it would probably be like kick, snare, hi-hat, and then the rest of these might be samples if I'm working on sample-based stuff. And I'd probably have a through machine if I was working on, if I wanted to have some like synth or something.
Synthesizer stuff. Do you always do 8 as the master track?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What do you put on your master track on the 2 effects?
2 effects is delay and what's the other one? Oh, filter. Mm-hmm.
Cool. You don't use the compressor, which is nuts because it sounds
Yeah, I usually don't like.
pretty good.
Usually I'm usually running everything through the analog heat, or I'm going direct to my interface.
Are you using the compressor at all on here?
Yeah, I use the compressor on there.
Cool. Let's see.
Get those drums punchy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds really freaking. I always thought you were slamming a compressor. I guess that shows me. I'm just like using the compressor as a crutch rather than making it sound good to begin with. What else is up? What's up, everybody? So, in case you're just tuning in, we're here with the one, the only Voltagectrlr. Did a dope beat set. This live stream will be up after the fact as well. So if you're watching this later, what up? If you have any questions and you're watching this later, leave them down in the comments. We'll be kind of digging through there and answering them as they come in. We appreciate all y'all for coming in. There's a bunch of you coming in right now. Right now we got like 138 viewers, which is dope. Yeah. But yeah, we're talking about the Octatrack transitions, which was my big question, right? To figure out how Voltagectrlr does it, and it is a lot of the one shots and the little through track machines and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And yeah, anybody in the chat, if you got questions, by all means, he's spilling the beans.
Yeah, y'all want delay settings or something?
Yeah. I'm down with that.
Let's demystify it.
Cool. So right now, oh, cool. You got tape on, direct out. Yeah, so you're just doing the typical delay lock.
Yeah.
But you don't play the delay lock trigs. You're just using it for
I
the
usually,
Crossfader, right?
Yeah, when I do like IDM sets, like I usually use Crossfader and the actual trigs as well.
Okay, cool. Is there any reason why you don't?
I kind of like staying like on the surface, so to speak. I don't like doing a lot of menu diving with the beat sets, but like when I do IDM or like modular sets, I get a little more technical. I get crazy with the Crossfader setups, and yeah, I like to just have a lot of options and not just freestyle with, and improvise when I do modular stuff.
I will say, whenever I see your tracks and stuff that you're posting little clips of on Instagram and whatnot, which of course I have linked down below, go check his Instagram out, give him a follow, give him a little shout out. Are you ever, it sounds so different every time you play the Crossfader, especially when there's just like some beats and stuff playing. Do you have a ton of different scenes, or is it just that one?
Well, if you hear a bunch of different songs, like I'll have different Crossfader settings sometimes per song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I won't always leave it exactly the same, just depending on how I'm feeling at the time, just to have more sonic options.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get and also when you start using parts, you can like change what the Crossfader does in each part.
Per
so
pattern.
Like, yeah, exactly. So I'll get crazy with that too.
Yeah, the parts thing is, I find it extremely useful, but I'm also at that point where it's like extremely useful but hard to explain.
Yeah, it's like useful. A mystery wrapped in a riddle. It's like it's hard to like articulate what's going on. You wrap your brain around it and you know how to access it, but to articulate that is sometimes
it's a totally different thing. Yeah, exactly. And parts, it's because like, you have 16 banks. Each bank has 16 patterns, but each bank is independent, and all the patterns share the same settings within a bank, but then you have 4 parts per pattern, so that
Yeah, that's when it gets crazy.
that could technically, then now you're just like in the tesseract. You can like kind of be similar to the other patterns, but not, because
Yeah.
it'll be on part 2 of bank 1.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's like hard to explain. And just the Octatrack, I think itself, we were trying to decode this last week with Strange Strains, is it's hard to wrap the feeling of using it and playing it into words.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, well, why is it special? But I think you kind of like nailed it, which is like, it's kind of old school, but super future at the same time.
Yeah.
And also still, 15 years old at this point, but
You can put it up against any 15-year-old sampler, like it's smashing it all
Yeah.
day. Like it holds up against modern samplers even, if you compare it.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, Mark in the chat has a good explanation for parts, which is it's the perfect answer for the scenario you will inevitably find yourself in. You'll know you need them when you need them. That couldn't be any more true. It's one of those like moments where I'm like, what is this feature for? Who decided to put this here? And then 2 years later, I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest feature.
That part, like I had the Octatrack for 2 years, and I didn't even like explore parts at all. Like saw it in the manual, it's like I want no parts.
Too much.
No parts of that.
Yeah.
And then as I got into Crossfader stuff, I just, for some reason, I was like, I wonder what this parts thing does. It seems like it's something that no other sampler does.
Mm-hmm.
Let me dig in, see how it can work for me.
Yeah.
And it clicked for some reason because I just focused on that and nothing else, and I was like, it made sense.
Yeah, you have to like learn it and apply it.
Yeah.
To really let it sink in. At least with my years with the Octatrack, even before I worked at Elektron, it was very much in doses. I was just like, all right, let me just learn a little bit, focus on that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think I get it. And then sometimes I would put it away for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then bring it back out and be like, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. Oh, let me learn a little bit more about this. And then like next thing you know it pretty well.
Yeah, because I was surprised to see you. I think when I first met you was at Shonda's at Travarsi's house. You rocked a 404 set.
Yeah.
And you were doing stuff with the 404 that I had never seen people do. Like the way you set up the 404 was very interesting. And then like later I noticed you on the Octatrack, and I was like, oh, you just have like kind of a different brain how you approach stuff.
100%. But I think it's funny because we kind of come from similar backgrounds where I was MPC 4000.
Yeah.
And I know that some of the creators of the Octatrack very much came from the MPC 4000 and the MPC world as well. And I see the Octatrack and parts of the Octatrack, and literally parts, very much reminiscent of the MPC 4000. Because
Totally.
like the MPC 4000 was super hated among
Yeah, I know.
the MPC
Yeah.
like OGs when it first came out. They're like, what is this trash? And what are multis? Like,
Yeah.
why would I need a multi? But the multi was like a program for your programs. And parts are like, oh, well, they're like settings for your settings. It's like there's this weird like detached brain, but you can modulate it and do a bunch of weird stuff with it. And yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, where you learn something that you like, and then you move on, and then you build it again, similar to the last thing, but on this new machine.
Yeah.
And you start taking all these bits and pieces that you really like, and your version of the Octatrack being a little bit of MPC, a little bit of SP, a little bit of turntablism, but all in one machine. And then not to mention like all the inputs and all the outputs that allow it to do a bunch of stuff.
And then we do more experimental stuff, like the sample mangling capabilities are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's the only
100%.
machine that I would say, like, especially for the super nerds out there, it's like a Max MSP patch in a box. So it's like, I love that.
Yeah. I know I did a recent short for the Elektron YouTube channel where like I have an empty sample slot and I pre-chop it, but then I can sample into that slot so that the sample coming in is pre-chopped, and
So it's just like ready to go.
it's just already ready to rock. And you're
Again,
like,
that's
done.
like stuff you can't really, people wouldn't even think about doing that on any other sampler. Like,
yeah.
Before this, like now maybe, but like before, like this was like way ahead of the pack.
That's so funny to think that the Octatrack does things that you wouldn't even think of doing
Yeah.
on other samplers. So it's hard to compare it in that way. It's
It is.
Well, can you pre-chop an empty buffer at 64 slices and create random locks on that.
Like who would even think about
Yeah.
that unless you had the option to do it? Then you can like dream.
Right, exactly. The Mr. C, thanks for tuning in. They're asking what's on the master. They see a delay FX. And FX2 is the delay. FX1 is going to be the filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no compressor, believe it or not. I'm blown away too. And they also ask, can parts affect the master bus? That's a good question. I believe so.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it
they
does.
definitely do
Yep.
because the master track is also going to change per bank.
Yep.
You can, so very much so. What else do we got going on? Let's see, I'm checking through. Oh, here we go. Are you using parts then to add more tracks? Not necessarily, if I understand your question correctly, Danny. Basically, say on track 1 you have it set to a through track so you can hear audio coming in from a synthesizer. And that's on pattern 1, bank 1, part 1. And you sample that through track, you can then go to bank 1, pattern 1, part 2, and instead of it being a through track, it could be the recorded buffer of that recording that you just made. So you're still stuck with 8 tracks all the way. But you can use the parts to quickly change all the settings of all the tracks in an instant per pattern. And that's where it gets really handy.
Yeah.
And for me, in a way, I use parts literally in the literal sense to add more parts. So if I made a song at home and I export the stems, I'll put the chorus on part 1.
Exactly.
And then I'll jump to pattern 2, which will also be part 2. And then instead of it being the chorus, that sample now changes to the verse.
Yep.
And then part 3 will be the breakdown and so on and so forth. So it just kind of keeps progressing the song forward. But the problem it solved for me, kind of like what Mark was saying, is that you won't know you need parts until you need them, and then it becomes a godsend. Was I saw banks on the Octatrack as songs. So I was like, all right, I only have 16 songs because in a bank all the settings stay the same. But now I can use 4 parts per bank. So then that increases my songs 4x. So I have 4 times the songs from 16. So now I have, what is that, 64 songs.
Yeah, 64.
Instead of 16 songs. So I just use the banks to kind of progress the tracks forward. Hope that makes sense.
So you have like all these like nested.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because in my head I'm like, yeah, it's so simple. Like,
until you start talking about it.
and then I try to explain it. And I'm like, wait, do you know about this? Hold on. Do you have a minute? Just sit down. Let me go grab my Octatrack. Here, put some headphones on. Yeah, and then I try to explain the whole thing. Is this if you are using stems, though? Eighth myth, yeah, that's when I'm using stems. But you can also use parts to just change, like, your scenes. So you have more than just 16 scenes on your crossfaders, or you can use parts to change the settings of your 2 effects, right? Is this because parts don't change pattern sequencer data, does it? No, it does not. And originally got that super confused because I was like, why the hell would I want to change all my samples but keep the pattern the same? It's not going to work. But then I realized I don't need to keep playing. I don't need to change parts live on the pattern. I'm just locking the parts to the pattern. So when I go to the next pattern, it's a new pattern with new sounds and new settings within the same bank. I hope that makes sense.
You have to be like in the Octatrack gang for that to even make sense. It's like another language.
I was literally about to say, I was like, if you don't own an Octatrack, everything I just said for the past like 5 minutes probably sounds like Swedish. And someone else had a good comment. Napalm says they refuse to buy an Octatrack again because of the finite resources and that the digis are superior. They are in ways, for sure, but the Octatrack does some stuff that you cannot do on the...
for performance, like it's pretty unparalleled with the, not that you can't perform on the Digi and the Digitone and the Digitech, which I love as a combo, but as far as like really playing with the sound, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. I think even in my setup now, I almost always have to have the Octatrack for the final thing before the house, so I
Yeah.
can just do some effects like with the Crossfader, which is endless and smooth as opposed to just doing like track alls.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
I can use, like you mentioned, all the sample manipulation capabilities of the Octatrack.
Yeah, it gets
go
real fun.
nuts, and then just bounce it down as like 4-bar loops onto
Yeah.
onto the Digitac, and then just launch them here. But still go crazy,
Yeah,
you know, at the end of the day with this.
totally.
Let's see. Let's see what else there is. So parts can change effect slots. Oh yeah, parts can definitely change the effects slots.
Have you done the double octa setup?
I haven't. I still joke.
I've done that once. It was
double
crazy.
Octatrack?
Yeah, it was crazy.
What was was it just like one Octatrack out into the other?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was doing all kind of crazy stuff with 2 crossfaders and all kind of weird like buffer
feel
stuff.
like-
It was
I kind of need to.
if you have to, you have to like give it a try. At
Yeah,
least.
I just saw a video of somebody using 2 MPC 2000s and a Vestax.
Oh,
And they're just
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
playing
yeah.
beats. And I was like, all right, that's pretty dope. But what about 2 Octas and a Vestax?
That'd be ridiculous.
So then you have like 1,000,000 crossfaders, or just 3 Octatracks.
Oh, for like 2 octas for like
Like
music
input
stuff,
A,
and then
input
one.
for mixing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, which would also be kind of crazy, kind of cool.
Yeah,
Because-
I do Digitag, Digitone with the octa in the middle is another fun setup.
That's cool. So then on that, do you just have a beat on the Digitact and then a beat on the Digitone?
Yeah, basically. Like drums will be over here and then like all like FM synthesis stuff and then all processing over here. And this
cool,
will
cool.
also I'll usually have my modular with that setup as well.
Got it. That makes
So
sense.
Digi, octa, modular in the middle.
That's the what is it? The big setup.
Yeah.
That's cool. At home, when you're just jamming and making music, is your setup pretty much this?
I have like multiple stations. So like I have, let's see, one setup that's my bigger modular case, analog heat, Digitone, and Digitac, and then I'll have this and the Syntag usually.
Mm-hmm.
That's like another station.
Dude, you got them all.
Yeah, and then I have like machine drum and another little modular.
Literally
with
got
that
them all.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have everything but the model machine. That's the only thing I don't have. So
Really?
that's on the list.
Any reason why you don't?
Just haven't had a chance to snag one. But
Yeah, and they're getting crazy expensive right
yeah,
now.
I'm gonna have to get one this year. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to give up like a body part thing.
I don't. I have the mono machine keys,
Oh, crazy!
and I don't use it like at all. But it's one of those like I just can't.
It's kind of a holy grail, like
Yeah,
the key version. Like,
It's just this axe. It just reminds me of like an anime sword. I just put something
like
on the bottom
a
of
Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Big
exactly. On my back. Yeah, exactly. 8 Octatrack in an octagon. Dylan says they're doing a 2 Octa setup now.
Oh, nice! I gotta check
Yeah.
it out.
You know, it's funny. Maybe I'll try the 3 Octa setup because I have 2, and I want a reason to buy a Mark One. Because I like the circles.
Yeah,
You know, it reminds me of like some Google keyboard or something. But it's cool. I miss the Mark One. I can't believe I used it for so long.
yeah.
And
The
there's-
Mark Ones are really dope.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no
the
doubt.
only thing that got me, because you can get the Mark One so cheap right now, but the thing that really made me finally jump to the Mark II was I had a gig coming up, and right before this gig, I played one with my Mark One, and when I'm trying to change patterns, all you have is a red dot.
Oh yeah,
You don't have the backlit pad. So I was like, if I needed to jump to pad 11 or pattern 11, I'd be like, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
not
this is 11, and then press it, and yeah, thankfully nothing went wrong. But I was just like, all right, I'm not trying to.
That's a
count.
good mental note though to like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
count in the dark, and
good.
you just see all these lights flashing. You don't know what's actually happening. Wow, somebody said they had several Elektron boxes, sold them all, except the Octatrack, and then bought a second Octatrack.
Crazy.
That is so funny that there's so many people out there with 2 Octatracks. I thought I
Yeah,
was just...
I thought we were like the only crazy ones.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, we're just, partly work here and then super fans, but no. I guess not. Chloe Corley in the chat with the mono machine drum supremacy. Yeah, mono machine is
Oh yeah,
nice.
silver boxes all day. Like we're fans.
Yeah, exactly. Digitact or Octatrack, do they overlap? Stimeral, yeah, they do, but it depends on your goals, right, and what you're trying to do. They overlap in the sense that they're samplers. They overlap in the sense that they could play back samples. And Digitact 2 is stereo, so is the Octatrack. The Octatrack's also stereo. If we're going to be like full-blown blunt on what they do, the Digitact, you cannot change the slice points of your samples on either the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, but you can on the Octatrack. But you can do slice grids on both of them, and you can also do random slice grid assignments. You can do parameter locks, right? And this is, again, kind of bumping into what we were talking about earlier, where it's really hard to explain what the Octatrack is and does, like, while you're using it, because you're like, yeah, I guess it does have a lot of crossover, but the way you use it and the way you play it, like, will spit out something completely different from most other machines.
Yeah, so like for instance, if I wanted to do, you know, like with this set with a lot of one-shot drums, like that would take up all the tracks. So
That's
like,
the other thing.
It saves on real estate.
Yeah, exactly. If you're just doing one shots and like just trying to play 909 samples, I don't think you need an Octatrack. But if you're trying to do like sampling, live looping, we didn't even talk about live looping at all.
I don't live loop that often.
What the? Really?
Yeah, that's like the next thing I need to explore out. I went to parts first. Parts was like the hardest thing. So like now, now that that's done, now I can go to live looping.
Like, you're making me think of it as like a choose your own adventure.
It is like a which way book.
Yeah, exactly. So you were like, I'm going to page 54 of parts, and I went to page 27 of live looping and conquered that dragon.
Yeah.
And then had to come back and visit your section now. But yeah, the live looping you do on here, you cannot do on either the Digitacts. You can in a sense, but it's a little trickier. It's way better suited on here. So there's like a lot of different things about the two. Even though they overlap, it's more so the workflow and how you interact.
Yeah, I live looped on this once. I was doing a modular set, and I was doing like more of a mod bap set. So as I was just like experimenting with the modular, I would capture like loops and then turn them into beats. Yeah. But I only literally did that like once or twice.
But hey, you've done it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what other questions are on here before we wrap this up. Is there a difference in sound between the Mark 1 and Mark 2? I don't think so. Trader to Living. Yo, Trader to Living, what's good? Good to see you in here. Yeah, I don't think there's a difference in sound. It's more so you get some added pages, different buttons that are LED backlit. And
yeah, I think this one had like dedicated buttons for some things.
You got your audio editor display, which is a dedicated button. Parts is a dedicated button, and then you also get a third record button, because I think you have two on the other one. Yeah, which is funny because just having that made me use everything else and all the other options so much more than I did on the first one. So it helps you explore a bit of the thing. What else is there? Someone else says, I really thought I was crazy for going with two. All right, cool. This is,
we're all crazy together.
Yeah, Octatrack is a two of them. You just need two. That's so funny.
Yeah, Octatrack totally has. It's like a cult following with this sampler. Yeah. Because so many people that sample, that love samplers, have never heard of the Octatrack. Even people that know Elektron, like, they don't know the Octatrack for some reason.
Or they just like, they see it and they're like, oh, that's the crazy one. Let me just put that in the back of my mind. And what about this thing, and think about something else. Somebody mentioned just a second ago about, the arranger mode. Yeah, it's totally usable. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Antipodal, Antipodal. He uses the arranger mode, or at least used to, from what I remember, on the Octatrack, and made like full-blown tracks. And what's cool?
Totally.
Yeah, you can do like what scenes are loaded on the Octatrack per row, and it's like an Excel sheet, but fun.
So for me, I think that's probably, I don't know for a fact, but I imagine that's where outside of the 8 tracks, the Octatrack name is synonymous with a tracker. So like a lot of people that did drum and bass and like jungle back in the day use these tracker programs, and it's set up just like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a very familiar environment.
That's cool. Let's see. Any other questions? If you use 3 Elektron devices and a synth, what is the best way to keep them in sync? MIDI,
Yeah.
MIDI,
Yep.
the standard. R.I.P. Dave Smith.
And you will open a portal to a new dimension.
Yeah,
There's 3 of them, I promise you.
It's nice.
And void the warranty.
Let's see. I'm looking for other question marks in here. How do you use the Crossfader when building multiple songs you want to perform? Voltagectrlr.
I pretty much use the delay buffer in different ways, like with different timing. So, you know, one might be set up for 16ths, one would be set up for 8ths, and then the third would be set up with something a little odd, or something that's like super rapid, like a kind of more of a carpless kind of sound.
Oh, right, to kind of keep it just like a little fresh.
Yeah, so I have like 3 flavors of delay that I will mix and match for transitions. And, you know, that with dropping drums out, or, you know, sometimes catching a snare or something like that, you have a lot of different things you could do with that delay to go from track to track.
That's a good way to think of it. Someone asked, do you use arrangement? I don't. I like to perform my track in, record it in, and then just kind of edit it as I go, because that, I don't know, I like that more performative vibe.
Yeah.
Right? Because my big thing is that the Crossfader, to me, isn't quantized.
True.
You know, so this is the human in the machine.
Yeah.
Is right here, is this free movement that you get to control however much you want, when you want.
As a turntablist too, the Crossfader actually feels really good.
Oh yeah.
Like I actually wish this Crossfader was on some of my DJ mixes.
Yeah, it's a really actual good, legit Crossfader.
Yeah.
Mario had a great question about chopping.
Oh, there we go.
I wonder where it's at. Okay, let's see. Last but not least, oh, this is a good one. Do you use the 16 or 24-bit audio?
Oh, 24.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, I don't. I only found out about that setting like a year or 2 ago, and I was like, oh, interesting. I'm always afraid of it because, again, going back to the MPC 4000, when you put it in like 96 kilohertz sample rate or whatever, you lose 2 effects out of your 4, and I was like, I'm okay.
Not worth it.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I'll use all 4, even though I only use 2. But yeah, 24 all day. Interesting. Now, let's see. Someone said, should I get a Mark 1? I had a 1 in 2012, but sold it because I wasn't ready for its power. Chloe, yeah, if...
One is not, they're not bad.
They're not bad. There's probably more like content and stuff out there now on the 2s.
Yeah.
But at least better quality content, because again, this thing came out 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What else came out 15 years ago? Like the first iPhone or something?
Yeah.
So like, you know, camera phones and cameras were just not as good of quality to make recording.
True indeed, yeah.
You know, was YouTube
Yeah.
even out? So who knows? I just remember reading the manual, which was like a Bible.
Yeah.
It was huge.
That was like the first intimidating thing about the Octatrack was actually, you know, digging into the manual.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
I remember opening the box and there's just a book, and I'm like, oh, cool. I have to read now. I'm back in school.
And you know, coming from an MPC background and dealing with samplers for, you know, 10 plus years, when I got to the Octatrack, I'm like, it's a sampler. Let me just, you know, turn it on and not do anything. Like, it's not doing anything. Like, I press
how
play.
do I load?
Yeah, I'm like, I
anything?
don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, someone says 2010 was the 4th iPhone. Good to know. Still, how many YouTube channels are there compared to today? But yeah, if you can get a good deal on the first one, sure. But I feel like you can get a decent deal on the gray Octatracks nowadays. Crossfader to sample start. Yeah, Dylan, preach the good word. I do that a lot. That's what I do when I'm making music is I'll set the Crossfader to the sample start point. And then just put like an acapella rhythmically, and then slowly use the Crossfader to be like, oh, that works, and then I'll just resample a bar of that.
Oh,
and then,
dope.
like do it again. Oh, that's the B sections. Resample a bar of that, and then just kind of keep it moving.
Dope.
But let's see if there's anything else other than this. No. Shiro Voltage Controller, where can people find your stuff?
It's on all streaming platforms or Bandcamp.voltagecontroller or voltagecontroller.bandcamp.com, I believe it is.
Cool. We'll have links to that down below. I think right now it's just the Instagram, but I'll update that. And you want to play another beat for us?
Sure.
See what else you got loaded up on here?
Yeah.
Yo, appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to have Shiro play us out. And yeah, we'll catch y'all soon. Peace.
Voltage controller.
Clack, clack, locker. Feel them in your heart chakra.
Ghetto Gandalf. The wizard. Voltage controller.